Are you stuck in a rut right now? A lot of people are, and you wouldn't be the only one. It's not uncommon. So today we're going to talk about how to get started, how to move forward past that point where everything feels like it's caving in around you. We've got more coming up right after this.
Hey everyone, in case we haven't met, my name's Rad Burma, so that's my brother Yanni. We're the co-founders of Unity Gym and the co-creators of the UMS, the Unified Movement System, where we turn driven people into superhumans. And the way we get such astonishing results with our members is that we've got a program here that we've created that has a balance between strength and flexibility. It's quite unique. If you want to know how we do it, grab one of the free blueprints, the Strength, Flexibility or Nutrition Blueprint. There's a link in the description of this video. And we're talking about being stuck in a rut at the moment. We get a lot of emails at the moment. Some of them are really, really positive. People are talking about the impact that we're having on their lives. And then other people are telling us how they just can't seem to, get out of this rut that they've got themselves into.
Well, yeah, look, I mean, the reality is, first and foremost, guys, if anyone out there is watching or tuning in that is feeling like they're really struggling with thoughts of depression or negativity, anxiety, it's real. Those emotions are real. There's chemical reactions occurring in your body that are making you feel that way, and it's important to acknowledge them and acknowledge the power that they have potentially over you. But in the same note, it's you don't have to fuse to them. Those thoughts, feelings, and emotions are not you. They don't need to become attached to who you are and your character, and they don't need to define you and your outcomes and your actions and behaviors. And the first step is obviously acknowledging what's going on for you. And then we can move forward from that point on, But it's very important that you do, because only you have the power to do it. I mean, even you said right now that you're experiencing a little bit of a tough time emotionally. You've got family away, I
think it's tough for everyone. I didn't expect it to be tough for me like this. I'm usually somebody that rises above challenges like this. But yeah, it is hard. Just looking at the state of the world, of what's going on, coming into the gym every day, even though I get to come in and spend the day with you and Richard, and there's an element of what we do that is still here, which is that we get to come into the gym and be here together, but it's an empty gym, and it's a really weird feeling, and it's something that I wasn't prepared for. For 7 years I've been coming in here, and there's people here all the time, and you have a lot of different conversations with people, and that's just gone. So yeah, it is hard for a lot of people. And look, I just want to touch on real quick, because this is something that we're doing right now. If you're part of the 30-day challenge that we're doing, the UMS morning ritual challenge, then you should have started today with your first day of reading some of this book. There's multiple ways you can get it. I saw that Mike Skolnick, he shared a picture of himself reading it off a Kindle, so that's one way you can get it on a Kindle.
Steve Cavanagh just chimed in and said that he's reading it a chapter a day. That's a really good way of doing it with this book too, because every book he shares a story about the military and then how that relates to business and everyday life, and it's a really nice way to go about it, just doing a chapter a day.
Do the whole chapter. But in the minimum, if you're not a reader and you're not somebody that's used to it, the goal is to just do 10 pages. If you can do 10 pages is infinitely more than nothing. So you can get it on Kindle, you can order the hard copy, or you can get the Audible app if you really don't want to read it and you just want to listen to it. But either way, that's the first thing. And the second thing is that for those of you that are already doing the challenge, you're meditating daily. And if you're doing the Waking Up app, and you've used that free 30-day trial code, you'll be on about day 7 or day 8 now. And he definitely does start to teach you at that stage how to identify consciousness and how to understand how feelings aren't real. They're just an experience that you're having in consciousness, just like sight, just like sound, just like an itch. All it is a sensation, and that's a really, really hard thing. It's actually quite a revelation, like for me, to learn about this stuff, because I'm only on day 15 on the Waking Up app.
Yeah.
And the lessons that I'm learning, the meditations I'm doing, are very powerful.
Yeah.
To be able to learn to disassociate yourself from those feelings and understand that they're real, but they're not you.
Look, this was my breakthrough moment in life for me in general, because I had suffered such severe and debilitating depression for the majority of my life. There is no way that I would be sitting where I am right now, having co-created this whole business and Jim and the podcast and the the Unity V live channel and all of this stuff that we've done together as a team, the three of us. And also with Phil, he's helping out now as well, very recently. There's no way we would have done this if I hadn't have learnt to disassociate from my emotions. And it's referred to as cognitive fusion. We've got someone at the door. We're receiving. Sorry, guys, we've got a couple of really important deliveries coming, tech deliveries, equipment today, and there's someone at the door, I think, trying to get in. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong.
Don't worry about it. Let Richie do
it. Yeah, look, they call it cognitive fusion and cognitive effusion, being able to effuse from your thoughts, feelings, emotions, urges for those people that have cravings and things like that. So I cannot stress enough that this is important. It's something that needs to be dealt with, especially in a time like now when we're all experiencing quite serious and strong and very real emotions and very real urges, that we learn to level up and disassociate from them. Not all emotions serve you, and part of the process is to identify, okay, is this what I'm feeling or experiencing right now? Is this something that's serving me, or is it something that's holding me back or harming me, And 9 times out of 10, you'll find that it's probably holding you back or harming you. And then you need to learn to disassociate from it.
Yeah, and it's so much easier said than done, right? A lot of people... this is not new stuff that we're saying here. This is a lot of great teachers have taught this stuff before, but actually, getting started and doing it is what so many people struggle with. And you add this whole coronavirus thing into the picture, self-isolation, potentially losing your job, or fear of losing your job, or having your wage reduced, or just the uncertainty in the world at the moment, and this is very, very hard for some people to hear. Some people, when we say what I'm about to say, they get really, really offended. But it is a choice that you will make. You're going to make the choice as to whether or not you're going to thrive and get out of this rut, or whether you're going to stay in the rut. And that's a very, very hard thing for a lot of people to hear, because the truth is that you are the architect of your life, and you are the person that makes the decisions that gets you either to where you want to go or whether you don't want to go. And of course, sometimes we make the wrong decisions, and sometimes we get dealt some bad cards. But there's just so many stories of people, rising. I mean, I just subscribed to the Daily Stoic yesterday, and I watched a couple of videos as well, and one of them was talking about, I can't remember the guy's name, but it's much less important to know who he was rather than who he became. So he was a young African-American, and he got caught stealing, and he got thrown. They went over to his house and raided his house, and they found firearms and a whole bunch of different items that he'd stole through burglary, and they put him in jail for 10 years. And what he could have done is, like anybody else that goes to jail, he could have just sat there and wasted his time and had a really miserable experience. But what he did was spent the entire time reading. Every single waking hour, he was in the library reading. And when he came out, he became Malcolm X.
Yeah.
And that's the story of Malcolm X, which I didn't know. I didn't know that. And that's one of so many examples. Now, ask yourself, what you're going through right now, is it worse than being thrown in prison for 10 years when you were an African American back in a time of heavy racism, when black people had the cards stacked against them so much heavier than they do now? And I don't think it is. Yeah. I don't think that anyone that's listening to this could say honestly that their situation right now is worse than that.
it's very hard to draw on that sort of thing. Just very quickly, Steve Cavanagh commented here, not sure I like the facing each other unless they look at the camera. Steve, we're playing with a few different formats and layouts. The goal here eventually is to have multiple cameras so that we can cut between different camera angles. But we are preparing to have 4 people around this table, and we couldn't do it comfortably before the way we were laid out. And sort of like the way Joe Rogan does it on his podcast, we want to create a discussion amongst the people that are on here. It draws on a better discussion.
We're really trying to replicate what Joe Rogan has in the sense of his setup and the way that he does things. And if you watch the way that he does, and what I noticed yesterday, I made a point of saying this to Yanni. Yesterday we had some of the best conversation that we had, and it was because we were looking at each other, having a conversation with each other. And we both have issues with each other sometimes when we're looking at the camera and we just go off on a rant for 10 or 15 minutes while the other one's just sitting there doing nothing. That's not really a good talk show. So we're making an effort to make this more of a back and forth conversation. And yes, right now when there's only one camera view, it is maybe a little bit weird for the viewer. But very, very soon we're going to have a camera that's sitting over here looking straight at Yanni and vice versa. So when I'm talking to Yanni, it'll look like when you watch the Joe Rogan show, he's not looking at the camera, but it's looking at him.
Yeah. And also remember that we're recording this for, not that I want to discourage you from tuning in and watching it live on the Facebook group, but we are recording a podcast here as well. So big shout out to all the people listening on the podcast.
We are not even close to finishing leveling up this production. So every little thing that we do right now is another step closer to having a world-class podcast, and we've got some really big people that are lined up. You know, we've already had people like Ben Pekulski come on this show, but people like Daniel Vadnal from Fitness FAQs and Cy Monster from Cy Monster Strength. The only reason why they haven't been on the show is because of the coronavirus and they got locked down. Yep. So we're getting ready for having more guests. And
Kyle Wagner's coming back. We're going to try and have a really great guest once a month on the show, and we'll have Phil back soon, sitting in his chair.
Yeah, so there'll be 3 of us here already.
And so we're just getting ready, and bear with us, stay with us for the journey, because you're just going to see that we're going to constantly add little bits to it over the coming month, because this is really where where we're putting a lot of effort, also in finishing the gym and making the gym just amazing. Hopefully we reopen at some point. Otherwise it'll all be wasted.
So look, let's talk about some strategy, some action plan. The first thing that I'm going to say about getting out of a rut is I'm going to go back to that Nike slogan, just do it. Like, unfortunately, the very first step of getting in a rut, like you've got to imagine the classic rut, the person that doesn't even get out of bed, you know, that's really just stuck at home and doesn't even get out of their pajamas.
And I've been there. I've been
there too. Yeah. I've been there too. When I finished high school, I'm going to share a real quick story of myself here. I went through a state of depression once in my life, like what Yanni described. When I finished high school, when I was at high school, the only thing that I knew about what I wanted to do with my future is that I didn't want to go to university. I really didn't enjoy academic studies, and my idea of what university was, of going to do more study, more on, I just couldn't find a topic that interested me. What interested me back then was martial arts, and that was it. I was just so heavily into martial arts, and that's all I wanted to do, and I just couldn't see a career for myself. So I stayed at school purely because I thought, well, if I don't have a plan for myself, I may as well at least stay at school. But when I finished school and the reality set in that I needed to start making money now and I had no idea, I fell into a real rut. And for 6 months, I was smoking bongs every day, smoking marijuana, and not going out at all. And my mum sat me down eventually. They basically had an intervention, my mum and my stepdad, and that's when they presented to me that they'd found this Kung Fu instructor's course that you could do, and, you know, it was recognised by the government, so you could get the student, you know, payments and things to support your education, and that's what I went into, which eventually led me to where I am. But when I was in that rut, I remember it was so clearly. I was just so down, and nothing seemed like, I just couldn't see a way out at all. You know, and my parents came in and helped me, but I was 18. You know, most people listening to this show are older than that. We're wiser. I hope that we have the ability to not need to have a parent to come in and pull you out. I hope we've got the wisdom to listen to words and be able to do it ourselves. But there's a point where you have to just do it. And just doing it means to just take the first step. If that means to get up and get your clothes on and just start getting out, or in this case, just start doing some exercise every day.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. I like to use the analogy when you're in this deep funk of depression or in a rut. Some of you may not experience the depressive state as heavy as I did, but I like to think of it as like you've fallen into a really deep hole, like a well, and you're looking up, lying on your back on the ground and in the bottom of this well, looking up at the light, and it's very distant, and there's a long way to climb to get yourself back out of that. And we tend to think, we look at the distance between us and the light and think, there's no way I can make that. I don't have the strength to make that. But what you need to be focusing on is, where do I put my hand first? Like, what's the first step? Yeah. Where can I get to the first step, And
that's all you should do.
And that's all you focus on.
You look at the first step in front of you.
That's exactly, because the first step will then give you a different perspective to find the next step. And then that step will give you a new perspective, and you'll be able to see the next step. And before you know it, you'll build momentum, and you'll be at the light, and you'll be climbing out of that well, and you'll be moving forward. You'll feel fantastic. And it starts with that very first step. Yep. It's so important.
And we are actually, because we're creating this morning ritual for people, if you're watching now, you're actually at a point where, I'd like to even throw it out there that you can choose what that first step is, because there's 3 really, really good things that we've incorporated into the day of our viewers, which is, one of them is to commit to doing the daily workouts. Now, it doesn't matter if you don't get a good workout in. It doesn't matter if you feel that you're not keeping up with me. You just do it. Yep. You just, if you make the commitment, no matter what happens, it doesn't matter how crap you feel, you get up, even if you're still in your pajamas, and you go through the workout with me. That's one thing you could do. Another thing you could do.
Very quickly, sorry, because I'm working on right now creating the updated client experience of coming in and getting involved in our ecosystem and doing our program. And I'm looking at identifying 5 solid wins that an absolute beginner who's never set foot in our gym before can focus on in their first 28 days. And the first one that I've come up with is to complete your very first workout. Every one of our workouts has 3 components. The base workout in the UMS program has 3 components: the warm-up, the strength and flexibility, and then the cardio and supplementary circuit. And what I want you to focus on in Rad's example there is just complete all 3 of those components of a workout. Doesn't matter if it's perfect. Doesn't matter if you nail every movement and nail every rep.
Doesn't matter
complete
if you don't even come
every
close to keeping
time
up
or
with
set
me.
or keep up with Rad. Just get through the 3 components in your way, in your best effort. And there's your first win. That's your first step.
Yep. The second thing that you can do, if that feels like that step is too big a step to take, is you can do the morning meditation for 10 minutes. And the third thing that you can do is you can start reading that book for 10 pages a day.
Get the first chapter. Just get the first chapter done.
There's 3 things that if you made the commitment that you're going to do one of those 3 things daily, it will have a profound effect on your life. And it has this thing called the compound effect, where you make this one small decision, this one small thing, and it compounds and builds. And before you know it, you won't be in a rut anymore. Yep. You'll break that rut if you make a commitment to do one of those 3 things, but you actually stick to it. Not you say, okay, I'm going to go from 0 to hero in one leap, and then you try it one day, you fail, and you think, oh, stuff this, I'm not doing it anymore,
And now if the daily workout is still too intimidating for you, the at-home UMS workout, follow along, or for whatever reason you feel like that's out of your reach, then make your first step something even smaller. Make it just go for a 10-minute walk. Everyone can go for a 10-minute walk,
Or maybe you
get
even
some
just do
sunshine.
the warm-up with me.
Yeah, look, just break it down to something.
It depends.
That is
Not everyone
for you.
can go for a 10-minute walk right now, because in some countries people are actually in lockdown and they're not allowed to go out.
Yeah,
but
most countries are allowed to go for an hour of exercise outside. But yes, I think there are a few countries like Spain and Italy where you're confined to your house.
I think even South Africa. I was speaking to a woman from South Africa via email over the weekend.
And if that's you, then just do what you can.
But even if you say, okay, I'm just going to do the warm-up with RAD every day, because if you do that for 5 days in a row, the empowerment that you will feel that you set a goal and actually achieved it, or if you meditate for 5 days in a row, or if you read this book for 5 days in a row, what the sense of empowerment that you feel is phenomenal. And that's why the message for today is just do it.
Yeah.
Just get started. Just take that first step.
Take the first step. Don't look at the whole picture of getting you back to your most motivated self that you may have been operating at before we went into this lockdown.
That's who you were before this.
You know, now it's just about taking the first step. You'll get a new perspective from the first step, okay? So just to quickly summarize, guys, what we've been through, because we'll do a little bit, we'll answer a couple of questions maybe after this. You know, the very first thing to acknowledge when you're in a rut is that the emotions that you're experiencing, the feelings are very, very real. And they have the power to really stifle you, to really paralyze you in some situations. So the first step is to acknowledgement. But then the second step is awareness that you do not, that they do not define you. These emotions, these feelings, these sensations, the urge to stay in bed, the urge to stay in your pajamas and eat cereal all day, or whatever it is that you do to, Netflix yourself out of your funk. Those urges don't define you, and they do not need to define your outcomes and your behaviors and things like that. So be aware of them, acknowledge them, but then move forward and have the awareness and consciousness that they don't need to define you, and then take action and take your first step and make it small. Give yourself a small win first.
Yep.
It's very, very important.
Yep. And reach out to us. Post on this group if you're struggling. Post on, if you're a Unity Gym member, post in the Unity Gym Tribe group. If you're a podcast listener, post a comment in the podcast. Yep.
If you're watching this replay on YouTube, post a comment in the YouTube. We look at them all.
Yeah, we'll help you out because you're not alone. There's a lot of people that are going through this right now.
Yep.
But the first thing that you have to do is what we're talking about here. Take this first step. And a good thing if you find that you're really struggling to disassociate yourself from those emotions, a really good exercise to do is to sit down, close your eyes, or lay down on a couch, and think of 3 things that you're grateful for, and really just focus on those 3 things for 5 or 10 minutes and get the feeling of gratitude. And it has to be things that you're really and truly grateful for, because that will dramatically change your perspective and your outlook on things.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, guys, we've got 5 minutes left, so I want to run through and do a couple of quick shout-outs to people. First and foremost, we've got Aidan Potts here, who's a rising star in our UMS online coaching group, who's posting videos, he's taking action, he's posted doing the at-home workouts and the UMS online program at home, which is really, really cool. Just wanted to give you a mad shout-out, brother.
Yeah, you're killing it, Aidan. I love seeing all your posts and your questions, man. It's really, really good to see your commitment.
He's absolutely smashing it. And also, just want to give a shout out to some of the interaction that we've had with our guys from the Unity Gym Tribe. Danielle Black, she's Danielle, sorry. She's been talking about how she's going with the at-home workouts, and just the fact that you make the time and effort to reach out and connect. It's really, really important that you guys are staying connected with people, with us if you need to, with family members, all that sort of thing.
Yep.
Quick announcement, we are going to be doing the UMS at-home workouts over the Easter break. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Easter Friday and Easter Monday.
Friday and Easter Monday. So Lockie Husler was asking that on the Unity Gym Tribe group. We do have workouts. We will post a link to Ryan Holiday's Daily Stoicism. Ryan Holiday is the author of The Obstacle is the Way and The Ego is the Enemy. Those are the 2 books that he became most famous for. Both incredible books. I've read them both this year. And he's just a really good guy to follow, you know, really good guy to follow. So that's something that's probably worth us posting a link in this group for. Yeah, if you haven't already, guys, make sure you pick up your copy of Extreme Ownership. I don't know how the best way to do that because we're getting reflection and glare from the lighting in here, and download the Waking Up meditation app from Sam Harris. That's going to get you to the point where we're at now with the 30-day challenge. And just keep doing these steps. They're super duper important.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. That's it for today. And of course, we will be back tomorrow for the Thursday upper body workout and then our daily dose of motivation. Have a wonderful day.
Health is about performance, not just body image.
You better be willing to accept what you're going to have to do to get there.
We'll start focusing on movement goals, strength goals, flexibility goals.
When you nail that skill, it's there forever.
The body image goal doesn't get you that far.
It's the consistency and frequency that's going to get you there. It's not the intensity.
There's no shortcuts to mastery and movement. Destination doesn't change overnight, but your direction will.
The gym is not the place to beat up the body that you hate. It's the place to build the body that you love.
We are the gym that teaches people how to move instead of just exercise, because we believe that health is about performance, not just body image.